which I've had the pleasure to visit a couple of times before, and I felt really hearty to coming back again this morning to Orissa. Disaster seemed to be part of life. One of the more famous disasters in history was the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in the year 79 that overwhelmed Pompeii and the surrounding areas. That disaster is well known and documented. That's why we know so much about it. Many other disasters, natural disasters, have occurred, but we don't know anything about them. The so-called Boxing Day 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake occurred on December 26, 2004, with an epicenter undersea west of Sumatra in Indonesia. That earthquake triggered a series of devastating tsunamis along the coast of the most landmasses bordering on the Indian Ocean, killing more than 225,000 people in 11 countries, with waves up to 30 meters. It was one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand and India were one of the hardest hit areas. I just learned this morning that Orissa was not affected, but so was southern part of India. Many tsunamis had occurred before 2004, but this one became so famous, and I think for two reasons. First of all, it was so devastating. And secondly, many Westerners were affected. A couple of high-level officials, including ministers in European countries, had to resign and leave office because they didn't act in time and pay enough attention to understand what was happening to their citizens 10 hours away by airplane. That shows the political impact of this disaster. There were many reports on the situation of people with disabilities and how they were affected by that tsunami. For example, from Sri Lanka. I remember one story, one young man telling us the following. The tsunami came and people ran away, but people with disabilities could not run away. So they were the first one hit by the waves. He, on his hand, happened just by coincidence to be on the second floor of the building, and he could see the whole area be washed out and disappear in front of his eyes. And just because he was upstairs, he survived, one of the few in the building where he lived. An example of how often those disasters occur is that when I did research, I found out the Japanese government has reported of 195 tsunamis affecting that country. That is quite many. Orissa was subject to an intense cyclone in October 1999, Cyclone 05B, that caused severe damage and approximately 10,000 people died. I'm sure that many of you who are here today have been a witness of how traumatic that disaster was. One person who could be a witness himself of natural disasters is RI's past president. His name is Lex Frida. On June 8, 2001, heavy rain fell in his hometown, Houston, Texas. Many areas were flooded and people evacuated or fled from their homes. Lex, who as quadriplegic, couldn't leave his home, so he was sitting at home with his personal assistant, who, by the way, has a brain injury and can physically assist him that have difficulties in taking intellectual decisions. Water started pouring into their home, and Lex, sitting in his wheelchair, saw water coming up to his knees and up his waist. Finally, a neighbor and his assistant brought him to one of the highest locations in his home, where he was sitting watching his home being destroyed. It took quite some time before rescue operators could come and pick him up. This happened in the United States, one of the most developed countries in the world. That shows how little knowledge there was at that